West Ham transfer briefing. The 4 centre-backs and 3 midfielders on shortlist in post-Sullivan overhaul. How Daniel Kretinsky convinced Jarrod Bowen to stay, and the 5 stars heading for the exit. Life back in the Championship has come with a much-needed boost for West Ham, whose talisman, captain and main goal threat Jarrod Bowen pledged his future to the club. It softens the blow of losing Mateus Fernandes to Tottenham for £85 million, and the imminent departure of winger Crysencio Summerville to Al-Hilal in Saudi Arabia. But ahead of the club's first season in the second tier for 15 years, and with turmoil off the pitch, the next 6 weeks will be crucial to ensuring West Ham bounce back to the Premier League at the first time of asking. Here, our expert JAMES SHARPE provides all the information you need to know on the Hammers' latest ins and outs.
An unlocked iPhone 14 for just $299? This renewed 128GB model gives you a vivid OLED display, 5G, and the freedom to choose your carrier. Want to check today's Amazon deal? Scan the QR code now or visit grabdeal.us/6 before it's gone.
Jarrod Bowen handed West Ham a much-needed boost by signing a new contract. Mateus Fernandes was the first of the big names to leave West Ham this summer. Joining Tottenham for £85 for a few seasons now, there's been talk of a much-needed West Ham overhaul. Too many players, signed by too many different people, for too many different managers, and crucially, for too much money, had left an aging, unbalanced squad not fit for the Premier League. That overhaul never really came, but now relegation to the Championship and the financial constraints that come with it have forced their hand, while a change in ownership could well see it through. Top stars, though not all of them, have gone and will continue to leave, so they need to strengthen all over. So far, the only addition has been making under-21s loanee Keber Lamadrid's move permanent from Venezuelan side Deportivo La Guaira. West Ham could do with a new striker. Tady Castellanos did pretty well after arriving for £25 in January, but his fellow winter window signing Pablo offered little. For all the dirty work off the ball and his £21.08 fee, he's yet to score a single goal. Callum Wilson had flirted with extending his contract for another season after a solid debut campaign with several crucial goals that nearly kept the club up, but the Englishman has now joined Brentford on a 1-year deal. Niklas Füllkrug, remember him? Is back from his loan at AC Milan, but he is on the list of players the club want to sell if anyone will have him. The £85 departure of all-round midfielder Fernandes leaves a massive hole for Nuno Espirito Santo to fill. Even though Konstantinos Mavropanos, voted Hammer of the Year, has been offered an updated contract similar to the one signed by Bowen, West Ham are still desperate for defensive additions, with further departures expected in that area. West Ham have only made one signing so far this summer, making Keber Lamadrid's loan move from Venezuela permanent. Hammer of the Year Konstantinos Mavropanos has been offered a new deal. The Hammers have agreed to sell Summerville to Al-Hilal for around £55. It's quite the throwback to the good old days of transfer deals, where a fee is agreed first between the buying and selling club. Nowadays, clubs usually agree terms with the prospective player, even though tapping up in an official capacity is still banned, with the fee the last piece of the jigsaw to be thrashed out. This was very much the other way around, and, for a while, looked like it could prove a sticking point. Summerville was understood to prefer a move to a European side, despite the heftier wages the Saudis can offer. Summerville was on Manchester United's radar, and the Red Devils held exploratory talks with West Ham. Roma were also seriously interested, and while their first offer of £39 was much lower than Al-Hilal's, they have spent the last few days trying to thrash out a more lucrative proposal. However, it is understood Summerville, who scored 5 goals in 31 Premier League games last season, has now agreed to the Saudi move, meaning the Hammers will bank the best part of £140 for the departure of just 2 players. Crysencio Summerville is set to join Saudi side Al-Hilal for £55. Jean-Claire Todibo is keen to depart, and Nuno wants him gone too. The centre-back refused to play in West Ham's final day relegation decider against Leeds after being substituted just 26 minutes into the penultimate game of the season against Newcastle. Marseille have been keeping tabs as have Juventus, but neither have yet tabled bids. They would prefer loans, West Ham wouldn't but might have no choice. AC Milan had the option to buy Fulkrug this summer after his loan expired, but unsurprisingly, opted against it. Fiorentina have shown loose interest but nothing more. West Ham have accepted that they are unlikely to get back the £27 they paid Borussia Dortmund for him 2 summers ago. Midfielder Edson Alvarez and goalkeeper Alphonse Areola are also on the for sale list, the latter especially now that Mads Hermansen has nailed down his place, as Nuno's no one despite the shaky start to his Hammers career. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is also a player West Ham are willing to sell for the right price. They want £25 for him, and there's mild interest from Lazio, while he is on Arsenal's long list of targets. There have been rumors that David Moyes is keen to bring him to Everton, but sources told Daily Mail Sport that interest is wide of the mark. Jean-Claire Todibo is keen to depart, and head coach Nuno Espirito Santo wants him gone too. West Ham want £25 for right-back Aaron Wan-Bissaka, left, who is on Arsenal's long list. There was widespread feeling before the summer that relegation would spell the end for the club captain's time at West Ham. England boss Thomas Tuchel hinted that being embroiled in a relegation scrap for a poor team had hindered Bowen's chances of selection for his World Cup squad ahead of others, despite scoring and assisting more goals than all the other England wingers in the Premier League last season. Does Jarrod suffer a bit from the situation at his club? It is difficult for him, said Tuchel. Does Noni, Maduk, and Bukayo Saka profit from the situation of their club Arsenal? Even father-in-law Danny Dyer said he'd begrudgingly accept Bowen leaving for Real Madrid or Manchester City. No one has to worry about that anymore. Bowen has agreed to stay to try to get West Ham back into the Premier League. The club have inserted a release clause into Bowen's deal, which kicks in if West Ham fail to secure an instant return to the top flight. He will also receive a fair whack as a bonus if they do. Bowen flew to Prague for talks with Daniel Kretinsky, the impending majority shareholder following the departure of David Sullivan and his lieutenant Jiri Svark. The Hammers skipper was impressed by the ambition and clarity of the man soon to be at the helm. Kretinsky knew that the biggest marker he could put down for how the club will be run under his watch was to convince Bowen to stay, not only to give West Ham the best shot at promotion, but also to send a message to the rest of the club, squad and prospective signings that they mean business. That Bowen, right, played for a relegated team hurt his chances of making England's World Cup squad as he slipped down the pecking order behind the likes of Bukayo Saka, centre. Owner Daniel Kretinsky managed to convince Bowen to stay over talks in Prague. At the start of June, Sullivan resigned from his position as co-chair after 16 years at the club in the wake of serious historic allegations about his conduct, ones he describes as entirely false. For all the heads of recruitment or technical directors that have come and gone over the years, it was always Sullivan who had final say on transfers. Insiders believe the club is already working more efficiently, in the knowledge that too many mistakes have been made in the past. Everyone, at last, is pulling in the same direction. Interim CEO Karim Varani is running the ship, and new head of recruitment Nils Koppen, who joined from Copenhagen at the start of July, is getting his feet under the table with his data-led approach to identifying targets. The feeling is that everything is more aligned. Nuno is unlikely now to come to work to find out, despite all the planning, that the owner has suddenly spent £30 on an injury-prone striker, just because he wants to, although his super agent Jorge Mendes is still believed to be trying to exert his influence. There's less than a month to go until the championship opener against promotion rivals Burnley, so already some supporters are starting to get twitchy. The sense from within the club, however, is that they are finally implementing a process they can trust, one in which they don't have to panic by. New head of recruitment Nils Koppen, pictured, has reunited with interim CEO Karim Varani, who he worked with previously at Rangers. With almost £140 in the bank from just 2 sales, one might think West Ham are all set to splash the cash. It's not quite that straightforward just yet. West Ham lost £104 and 2 pence in their most recent accounts, and the club need to make sure they comply with new squad cost rules (SCR) for this season that limit spending on transfers, wages and agent fees to 85% of revenue. SCR, at least, will ignore the huge losses they made. Club sources suggested how much of their transfer incomings can be splashed on future signings will become clearer once the ownership issues. The passing of shares and discussions over outstanding debts have been resolved. The priority first is making sure the club is viable and in line with SCR. Kretinsky is expected to inject a substantial amount once he takes de facto control, with SCR allowing owner injections of up to £33 over 3 years. That's not to say that West Ham aren't pressing ahead with targets, even if sources suggested that incoming deals may happen later in the window. As such, Koppen has also informed the club's youngsters that it will be a week or two until they find out whether they will be a part of the first team or shipped out on loan. Axel Disasi, who made a superb impact on loan from Chelsea last season, is their key target, but does not want to commit to championship football at this stage of the window, and would prefer to find himself a new club in the Premier League or overseas. Chelsea are believed to want £25 for the 28-year-old Frenchman. Southampton centre-back Taylor Harwood-Bellies is on West Ham's shortlist for centre-backs. The Hammers are also keen on Celtic's Arne Engels, a former target of Nottingham Forest. They have inquired about Midtjylland and Ecuador midfielder Daniel Castillo, right. Cardiff's Dylan Lawler and Leicester's Ben Nelson are also options on their defender shortlist, as well as Southampton centre-back Taylor Harwood-Bellies. The departure of Fernandes has left them keen to bolster the midfield, and West Ham are understood to have inquired about Portugal under 21 international Gustavo Sá at Famalicão and Daniel Castillo at Midtjylland, who was an unused substitute in all of Ecuador's games at the World Cup. The Hammers are also keen on Arne Engels at Celtic, whom Nottingham Forest tried to sign for £25 in January. The Belgian is said to want to test himself at a higher level, and there's a feeling among sources in Scotland that the summer is the ideal time to cash in on one of their main assets. Insiders say any deal could hinge on whether Celtic get a deal over the line for Paderborn midfielder Mika Boer.